When my grandfather dragged me to the stable, I didn't pray for a quick death. I prayed for a way out. I was a girl treated like an animal meant to be broken, but the only creature more defiant than my fear was a horse named Thunder, the one thing the old man could never control. For years, Thunder and I shared a silent understanding of captivity. Every day, the stable was his prison and mine. He was the most beautiful thing on the ranch, yet my grandfather saw only a spirit to be crushed. The stench of old hay and manure was the first thing I smelled every morning and the last thing I smelled at night. The old man's voice, a harsh, gravelly sound, echoed off the wooden beams, a constant reminder of my place. Thunder and I were just two more possessions to him, things to be bent to his will. I'd watch him from a distance, this magnificent black stallion pacing his small, reinforced stall. His muscles would ripple under his dark coat, a picture of contained power. Sometimes, when the old man was gone, I'd sneak over and leave a crisp apple just outside his reach, a small, secret offering of kindness in a world that had none. He'd watch me with intelligent eyes, and I felt he understood. We were two captives, locked in the same miserable place, dreaming of a freedom we couldn't grasp. The sound of his hoof kicking rhythmically, frustratedly, against the wooden door became the soundtrack to my own silent rebellion. We were both subjected to his cruelty. But where my fear made me small, Thunder's rage made him terrifying. I watched him fight, back-kicking, bucking, refusing to yield the way I sometimes did. My grandfather would storm into the corral, whip in hand, his face a mask of fury, determined to break the horse's spirit. But Thunder was a storm of his own. He would rear up, his powerful legs lashing out, his neigh a defiant scream that sent shivers down my spine. The old man would always retreat, angrier than before, leaving the horse battered but never beaten. I envied that strength, that raw refusal to surrender. While he fought, I was scrubbing floors, mending fences, my hands trembling, trying to make myself invisible. One afternoon, while cleaning the water trough near Thunder's stall, I noticed it, a steady drip, drip of water landing right on the heavy iron latch of his door. Day after day, week after week, that water had been doing its quiet work. A dark patch of rust was spreading, eating away at the metal, creating a weakness that only I could see. It was a small detail, a tiny flaw in the prison my grandfather had built, but in that moment it felt like a promise. Until one stormy night, I saw the chance to save us both. The storm wasn't just outside. It was in the air, in my heart, and in the pounding hooves of that black stallion. The sky tore open with a flash of lightning, illuminating the whole ranch for a split second, followed by a crack of thunder that shook the very foundation of the house. Rain hammered against the tin roof, a relentless drumming that matched the frantic beat of my own heart. In my small, cold room, I listened. I listened to the wind howling, and beneath it I could hear Thunder, restless and agitated in his stall. He could feel it too, the wildness in the air. This was it. This was the night. The chaos of the storm was the only cover I would ever get. I knew what I had to do. Slipping out of the house and into the drenching rain, I ran to the stables. The wind tried to push me back, but I fought against it, my resolve hardening with every step. I stood there, soaked and shivering, before Thunder's stall. I could see the whites of his eyes in the gloom. My hand hesitated for just a moment over the rusted lock, then I reached for it, my fingers closing around the cold, wet iron. I chose not to fight him, but to join the wilderness. With a final agonizing pull, I freed the lock. The metal groaned in protest and then gave way with a satisfying snap. The heavy door swung open. Thunder didn't hesitate. For a second, his head rose and his dark eyes met mine across the stall. It wasn't a look of gratitude, but of mutual understanding, an agreement. I backed away toward the stable entrance, giving him space. He was a force of nature unleashed. With a deafening cry, he thundered out of the stall, a black phantom against the stormy sky. He galloped out into the rain and the mud, his powerful hooves tearing up the ground. I watched from the doorway, a silhouette against the flashing lightning, as he disappeared into the wild darkness. He was free, and in the shadow of that untamed beast, I finally rode out into my own liberation. Thunder was gone, but the sound of his hooves was the last voice of that ranch I ever needed to hear. I walked back to the house, my heart no longer pounding with fear, but with a strange, exhilarating calm. I grabbed the small bundle I had packed months ago, a few clothes and a little money saved from odd jobs in town. I didn't leave a note. There was nothing left to say. As the first light of dawn began to break, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, I walked away from the ranch without looking back. The air tasted clean and new. The vast open space in front of me was no longer terrifying. It was a promise. I was walking toward my own horizon. The rest, my dears, is a story for another time. The story of how a girl, broken by life, learned that sometimes the only thing that can save you is the wildness you refuse to lose. Thank you for listening. Tell me in the comments, what is the thunder in your life, that untamed spirit that helped you break free? I'd love to hear your stories. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more.